you're in one of those areas. Now, we've all heard the horror stories, and now a New South Wales Greens MP has turned to social media in a campaign to see reforms to tenancy laws.
Jenny Leong says changes are needed more than ever as it becomes increasingly difficult for people to find stable and affordable housing, and she joins us now from Sydney. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Emma.
Let's start with what prompted all of this. How were your concerns raised in the first place?
Well, what we know is that there's more people than ever before renting in Sydney, and we know that the housing crisis is not getting any better. The New South Wales government is undertaking review of the Residential Tenancies Act this year, and so we thought it was really important first up to go to renters and hear from them as to what they're finding as the horror stories or the concerns that they're facing in the rental market in Sydney.
Tell us some of the worst of the cases you've heard of since you launched the Facebook page.
Well, let's just say when we launched this Facebook page, we weren't quite prepared for the overwhelming amount of stories that we would get from people. And you're talking everything from mould to mushrooms in cupboards to fake windows in kitchens with gas stoves, so there's no way of opening the window. You're talking about roofs collapsing, a huge number of serious maintenance issues that go to really bad health and safety concerns, and also issues of a lack of security and access. So I think while there are the sort of horror stories around the mould and the maintenance issues, perhaps the biggest and overarching concern is the lack of security that renters feel in their own homes. So dodgy landlords going in the middle of the night to access the back shed and get things out without them knowing, people feeling really insecure about whether or not they should complain about a problem because of the fact that they're worried they'll get kicked out if they do complain. This insecurity, I think, is something that really needs to be addressed when we're looking at how we review the Residential Tenancies Act in New South Wales.
How effective is the complaints procedure as it currently stands, and how does it work?
Look, the current complaints procedure and the work that it's done by advocacy groups like the Tenants Union are really powerful and really strong if people take that path. The issue is that we know in Sydney that the rental market is so tight that people are willing to put up with really bad conditions because they're worried that if they're known to the landlord to be complainers, that the landlord, instead of fixing the problem, will actually kick them out and put the house back on the market, sometimes and in some instances for more rent without fixing the problem in the first place. So one of the things that we're proposing is we need to look at no grounds evictions. So the idea that you can't be kicked out of a property simply because the landlord wants to put the rent up an exorbitant amount or doesn't want to fix your maintenance concerns. And by addressing that, I think we then provide a bit of a balance back to people that are renting so that they feel security in their home. Because after all, rental properties are people's homes. They're not actually just a way of property investors making money.
As it currently stands, what sort of redress is available to tenants who feel slighted by their landlords?
So tenants can go to organisations like the Tenants Union and take those complaints up. They can go through those processes, but what we really want to be seeing is turning the balance around. So rather than it being incumbent on the tenant to have to take those complaints to the tribunal and to be able to raise those concerns they have about the landlord in that tribunal, what we want to be saying is that as a starting point, let's provide the tenant with security. Let's say that their rent can't go up more than once per year, that it can't go up more than CPI, and that they can't be evicted on no grounds. And by providing them with that security, and that security to be able to keep living in their rental home, then what we do is we tip the balance right. So if there are then the occasional dodgy landlord, or in some cases a dodgy tenant, there's still the tribunal to be able to go to. But what we do is we provide security for people in their homes.
Jenny Leong, thank you very much for that, and we look forward to seeing what comes of the review of the Tenancy Act.
Thank you very much, Emma.
That was Jenny Leong there, the New South Wales State Greens MP, and yeah, we'll watch this space.
For sure. Now let's go to some